really are back to that fucking.
It's just tones.
Someone just left a paperweight on a keyboard.
Ooh, we have reached the 30-second mark. Oh wait, here we go.
He's gonna shoot him with a firework. All right, everybody, and welcome to lucky episode 13 of the Final Deletion suite in the Big Match Minute, which is what this podcast is. I'm Diet Coke.
And I'm Lilith.
And today we're talking about my favorite numbered minute, number 13, in the Final Deletion.
You have a fondness for 13.
I do have a fondness for the number 13.
Let's talk about that for a conspicuous amount of time.
I was born on the 13th. My sister was born on the 13th of a different month. And I think it's just, I like to embrace the unluckiness of it. People say it's not a fun number. They say it brings bad fortune, but hey, I owe my whole life to the number 13 because I was born that day.
How much of that Lucky 13 fashion brand have you invested in?
Is that a real thing, or are we traveling down a bit avenue?
No, that's like, isn't that like a thing? I feel like I've seen people wear that.
I'm actually not familiar with this.
Yeah, there's like a whole Lucky 13. It's not your style.
Okay.
Which is part of the reason why I thought,
there might be some fun to discuss there.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. Let me get some info. Oh my lord, my cat is being very needy. Apologies to the listeners. She's demanding attention.
Here, I'm just going to link a shirt to you that I think you might enjoy from them.
Okay.
I don't think you'd wear it just because of the style of it, but
yeah. That's pretty cool. Not my style, but yeah, that's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
We're looking at it says Gilman's Hot Rods and Choppers, and it's like a fish man with an eye patch and a cigar.
Yeah, this, there's a lot of like classic tattoo aesthetic.
Yeah, like classic tattoo aesthetic, biker aesthetic. It looks like. Yeah, not really my style.
And all of it says like Lucky 13 or 13 on it.
Yeah, it makes sense to me that you knew about this and I didn't.
Yeah,
not that this is necessarily your style, but you go to the type of places where you're more likely to interact with people in that style than I am.
Type of places, ogle the type of women who wear this.
Yeah. There's a dangerously thin line between classic like tattoo aesthetic and rockabilly aesthetic you got to be careful with that.
I mean, there's definitely rockabilly adjacent and rockabilly things that Lucky 13 does, and I, I'm not gonna say I've never tried to fuck a rockabilly girl, but
sure.
haven't been able to follow through.
You got to be careful with that, though. not all rockabillys are, one minute you're having a fucking good time hitting on a hot girl with that same tattoo that everybody has. Next minute you're hearing like quasi neo-Nazi shit and listening to some idiot yodel over an acoustic guitar.
Hey, Diet Coke, I listen to black metal. I'm very aware of that fine line.
Yeah, that's true.
That exact fine line. Those are very, very real risks that I run in the circles I do run in. So, like...
Yeah, that's fair.
You don't gotta lecture me.
I was trying to remember the name of any specific rockabilly artist. and I couldn't for that bit.
Couldn't think of old Reverend Horton Heat.
No, well, I was searching for Wanda Jackson, but I couldn't remember her last name.
Oh, okay. Reverend Horton Heat has a song called "Bales of Cocaine" about bales of cocaine falling out of like a Cessna plane.
Now, let me ask you
And
this: what is a
yeah,
bale?
like a bale of hay.
Well, yeah, but hay is a wheat and cocaine's a powder.
Yeah, but if I mean, you gotta pack the stuff into. Anyway, the first time I heard this song was because my English teacher in sophomore year broke out his acoustic guitar and sang "Bales of Cocaine" for us.
Any reason, or just
During class. I don't remember. This was many years ago.
But like, was it to illustrate a lesson, or was he just into the song?
Oh, Mr. Farr was definitely into the song. This is also Mr. Farr who, like, 2 years after I graduated high school, we like hung out at a Dresden Dolls concert together. Like
That's very funny.
yeah. I ran into him outside of a Nine Inch Nails concert.
That's wild.
Several years ago.
I don't know that I have it. I don't know that I've ever hung out with teachers after high school.
Yeah. I actually had a teacher who ended up like teaching a class that I was in college. We really are avoiding talking about the minute, aren't we?
Well, there's not a lot going on in this minute. Let's be honest.
Let's
be honest with ourselves.
I made the initial like assessment. We have 4 minutes that we need to like really knuckle down and get through because they're wrestle heavy minutes. And I drew that line because, spoiler alert, in minute 13, the fireworks get busted out. And that sentence is like the interesting thing to say about this minute.
Yeah. Let's break down the minute. We see
Yes.
some bad wrestling for like 30 seconds.
Yes.
Well, we see some bad wrestling for like 15 seconds.
Yes.
And then we see 15 seconds of shuffling about. Actually, maybe that is more like a full 30. I'm looking at the minute now. The fireworks don't go off until second 43.
And I want to be clear that there is just
this whole time we're just dealing with just tone, as Jason Segel once said, just dark tones. That's all it is.
Yes, that's all it is.
And then our friend Matt gets out a firework of some kind.
Well, it does. There's a chair shot.
Oh, there is a chair shot.
Which that's listen, we don't get a lot of material out of this minute. We can't be skipping over things like chair shots. 2 chair shots.
Okay, what do you want to say about the chair shots?
I like it when people hit each other with chairs.
Okay, that is cool. We get a 2 count also on this minute.
Yeah, we do. And then Matt fucking lights the firework tube on a tiki torch.
I want to say we get I'm going to say a poorly mixed 2 count in that without the roar of a crowd, a muffled 2 count where the dark tone is louder than that.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of tension there, you know?
We know that this isn't the end of the match.
Yeah, an audience, either doesn't know that it's going to be a 2 count, or at least has suspended their disbelief enough to act like they don't know it's going to be a 2 count. But the music is clearly signaling that this match is not over.
Like, yeah. Which is really like a fundamental like flaw of cinematic storytelling.
Well, that's I would say a good reason is to avoid that mechanic. Firefly Funhouse didn't have any 2 counts. The Boneyard match didn't have 2 counts either because that wasn't about that.
Yeah, no, it was not a match to a pinfall.
Yeah.
Which I mean, really, like making a cinematic match like this to a pinfall is pretty goofy.
Ill-advised, I would say.
Yeah. I mean, if you're gonna put like conventional wrestling rules into, like, I would say a last man standing match is like the best you can do.
Yeah.
For like, that kind of makes sense. But like, just fucking bury AJ Styles alive. Like that's
Yeah. That's great. He doesn't want to see that.
Yeah, who doesn't want to see that? See his stupid little glove poking out through the dirt.
Yeah. You know what would have been funny but too stupid? I understand why
What's
they
that?
didn't do this. If Undertaker had put like a wig on the tombstone so that it looked like AJ Styles' hair.
Oh, that would have been good.
Anyway, two shot, chair shot, two
Yeah,
count, chair shot. And then Matt finds the firework.
yeah, and lights it on a tiki torch.
Yep.
And Jeff defends himself with a garbage can lid. Like
Yeah, sort
they're
of
on
classic
opposite.
child shield prop.
Uh-huh. They're like on opposite. They're like on the ground, but on opposite corners of the wrestling ring.
Yeah, so that Jeff can also use like the
The ring posts
Yep.
to like make sure
as an additional shield.
Yeah, because this is I wrestling is dangerous. It ain't ballet, folks, as
Yeah.
they do say. But
Hey, ballet is dangerous too.
ballet is very fucking dangerous. But shooting fireworks at someone's face is super dangerous.
Yeah.
Like super duper dangerous.
All for a drone shot in which what we mostly see is smoke.
Uh-huh.
Two dots kind of dancing around the bright lights.
Uh-huh.
Were you one of these kids that screws around with fireworks?
Fireworks, no, because I couldn't get my hands on them, but I did screw around with fire a lot as a Boy Scout.
Yeah. Well, you were a fire kids. A lot of fire kids out there.
Yeah. Axe body spray, which was a big thing when I was a kid, is extremely flammable and can be turned into a, like we saw with Mr. Whalen's medicine in Alien versus Predator, can be turned into a can of Axe body spray can be turned into a competent flamethrower with a simple lighter.
I heard of kids doing that, and I knew kids who did that, but I was too scared. I honestly, even still to this day, I find it scary. What if the flame go back in the can?
I mean, that simply can't. You have to think about like what is needed for fire.
Okay, why can't it go back in the can? What if
There's no oxygen inside the can.
There's no oxygen inside the can?
There's not nearly enough oxygen for that to work. Because what's happening outside of the can is that the fuel, which is the Axe body spray, is mixing with the oxygen in the air, along with the energy of the fire to create fire. You can't if you
But then what if the fire
those are the three components of fire.
Yeah.
You need all three of them.
Okay, but what if the Axe body spray that's near your finger catches on fire? What if the fire just goes back a little? You know?
I mean, yeah, that happens. Your finger gets a little burned.
Oof, too scary.
Yeah. I mean, hot things. Yeah, playing with fire, you'll get a little bit burned.
When I was a kid, my grandpa told me that he was playing with Roman candles with his friends when he was a kid, and that he lost a finger and had to get it sewed back on. And as a kid, I believed him, but in retrospect, I don't know how a Roman candle would make you lose a finger, and that in such a way that it would be able to be sewn back on.
Yeah.
And that you, as a 60-year-old man talking to your grandchildren, now have just 10 indistinguishable fingers.
Right. That is all parts of that are just, there's so much to not believe.
I think I bought it though because my dad did lose a finger and have it sewed back on, and he does have the scar to prove it.
Oh, listen.
So I was like, finger losing runs in this family. I'm probably gonna lose one day. Was my thought as a kid.
My dad lost a whole ass leg when he was like 19. So, fear of doing stupid shit was drilled into me, but maybe just not enough.
Yeah, but that's like also clearly real. Whereas, I'm assuming your father wasn't faking that.
No.
I really have to doubt that my grandpa lost a finger to a Roman candle.
Yeah. No, because I can see my dad like put on his leg every day.
Yeah. Where were we in the minute?
I mean, we were at the end of the minute, which
Yeah, we're
is
talking
where
about the
Matt
fireworks.
Hardy's fucking shooting fireworks. Like, this is it. This is
Yeah,
the
that's
show,
true.
baby.
Talking about fireworks that's what we got.
Yeah, yeah. How about I tell the story of how my dad lost his leg on the podcast?
If you want.
Have I told you this story before?
No, I didn't even know your dad had lost a leg.
Hey there, listeners. So yeah, I am about to tell this story. It's got kind of a couple gross details. If you don't want to hear it, go ahead and skip ahead to about 1830 on your podcast player. All right. Oh yeah. So my dad was, I think, like 19, maybe.
Mhm.
And okay. So he was he wanted to go surfing with his friends, and he Arby's got his order wrong, I believe, is one of the like.
I never in a million years would have expected Arby's getting his order wrong to be a factor in this story.
It is. He was also high. So
Okay.
yeah. Um
Okay, so they want to go surfing, but they got to stop at Arby's first. They're high.
yes.
They
And
get the
Arby's
order
got his
wrong.
order wrong, and so there was a delay getting to the train yard where they were going
Oh,
to hop a freight car to get to where they were going to go surfing.
this story is like full of red herrings too. Like I assume, like, oh, maybe he like hit the reef or something.
So my dad's wearing a backpack when he
Okay.
gets onto this train, and the train goes under like a tunnel or bridge or something like that has not very good clearance.
Did this happen around my neck of the woods? I know. I know. At a very early age, you lived around my neck of the woods.
It did happen in California, I
Okay.
believe. I think it might have been more northern, but
Okay. Sorry,
I don't know. No. I think this would have been around the time that my dad was in college, which yeah, he went to college more in like Northern California. I'm forgetting the name of the university.
Okay.
But so the tunnel hits the backpack.
Okay.
And my dad is knocked off the train, leg lands on the tracks, and
oof. Yeah, that'll do it.
yeah, that did it. My dad.
Wait, he was
The reason I've
his
heard
backpack
this,
was just like hanging out the door.
I think he wasn't like in the train
Okay.
yet. He had kind of, he was like hanging off of it. I think kind
I
of
see.
the way they do in movies.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
And part of the reason why I learned this story at a young age is because when I was in Scouts, my dad would tell the story because he managed to, one, not go into shock immediately, and two, not go into shock for long enough to instruct his friends on how to make a tourniquet. Because he was in Scouts, his friends weren't, so he knew how to make a tourniquet.
Yeah, that story. This is already a story you would tell to, in Scouts if you were one of the
Yeah.
adults there. But with that detail, that's a lock.
Yeah,
I that's like that feels like it would be part of the official Scout
Now,
curriculum for any troop near enough your dad.
I didn't hear the part about Arby's or marijuana
Of
until I was
course.
much older.
He could have told you the part about Arby's.
I think Arby's came around like 13, 15, that around then, and then marijuana came in like 1920.
If
Right
this
around
was a if this was a sitcom, it would be he would have told you about the weed first because it would have been more important to protect you from Arby's. Like
so
millennial parents dropping off their kid. Yeah, so we're a no Arby's household, so like if you could just don't mention Arby's around little Xanther. Don't talk about it. If you have any rappers, please just keep them out of sight.
we're they stopped making Star Wars movies in the early 80s household.
I'm that household's worst nightmare.
Yeah, you fucking are.
Did you? This is we're getting wildly off topic
Yes.
here, but as we've
Who
discussed,
gives a shit?
yeah. Did you see my Star Wars related take that I posted on Twitter earlier today?
Diet Coke.
Yeah.
The answer is no, but like, did you see my Star Wars take said by Diet Coke, who's
The
you
person
are
who
practically just a machine that makes Star Wars takes.
I did say
Uh,
today, and I believe I've
you,
only posted one Star Wars take to the
you
TL today.
believe.
I
What
could be
was
wrong.
it?
Let's see. I'm gonna double check. There's a real chance that I'm wrong and just forgot. Let's see. Okay, so it's not a take, but I did retweet. I did retweet Star Wars content
Uh
within
huh.
the last 24 hours.
Uh huh. So what
But
was
I
your fucking Star Wars take?
and listen, that if there was if we had some kind of wish making apparatus
Mm-hmm.
that the only specific wish it could do is switch directors from two movies,
Yes.
I think
Uh huh.
Zack Snyder should have directed Star Wars Episode 9 and J.J. Abrams should have headed up the DC Extended Universe.
Ooh.
I feel like that is better suited to both of their talents.
Would you also give Snyder the Force Awakens? Like, just swap
No,
their roles in each
no. I
in both
think
properties?
because I do like Force Awakens. I mean, selfishly, I wouldn't give him Force Awakens because I like Force Awakens already. It would be interesting.
I don't think
I
you could
don't.
hurt Force Awakens that badly by giving it to Snyder. I don't think it'd
mm,
be that much worse of a movie.
I don't. I think it might because then he's reshaping the conversation. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
then he's has a bigger influence as a whole. But I think
and
when
he
I
does
think of
then influence The Last Jedi too. Yeah, which that is
yeah
a problem.
yeah he because when I was thinking about Revenge of the Sith as I often do.
Yes, you
And
do.
you talk about George Lucas's ideas about Revenge of the Sith and how he kind of imagined it as this like sometimes he calls it Shakespeare, sometimes he calls it Greek myth, but it was about this this high epic story more so than it was about characters, and that's why
Mm-hmm.
he didn't prioritize dialogue, obviously.
Right.
And then I think about the Snyder Cut, which I did like, and how it was very much about like the DC heroes as Greek gods. See, that's an interesting concept that I
Mm-hmm.
don't think maps that well to the DC heroes.
Yeah.
Um, but in the Snyder Cut, you kind of see what he's going for, and it kind of works. But I think if you take that same kind of high-minded attitude, and I think he could have made a great movie in Star Wars that I would have
Mm-hmm.
liked. Maybe it would be similarly maligned, like
Yes.
Revenge of the Sith is, but I would like it. And then J.J. Abrams, he's at his
Mm-hmm.
best when he's just nakedly knocking off Steven Spielberg, and I think that
Right.
kind
Which
of big
is.
budget box office, just easy smile and charm, would lend
Mm-hmm.
itself very well to Superman.
I can see the argument for both of those things. Now,
I'm glad.
when I'm doing Star Wars takes, I go for quality and not quantity,
Sure,
which is
sure.
why my only Star Wars take of recent note, which we're going to talk about on the podcast, is that Qui-Gon Jinn is a raging homophobe.
Yeah, and I do agree with this. That is, that's like that. This is where like I've put so much more time into Star Wars. I think you would say it's fair to agree.
Yeah.
I'm Salieri here, and you're Mozart. Like I'm slaving away at my music on these Star Wars takes, and then here comes you slash Mozart, and you're just like, here's something easy. I'll just throw it out, and it's more brilliant than anything I've ever
Just
done.
Qui-Gon Jinn, just casually, you know, making limp-wristed motions when people are asking, like, "Oh, what was up with Darth Maul? Like the guy who attacked you?" He's just like, "I don't know. It kind of seemed a little, you know."
It's so good because it's funny. It makes Qui Gon Jinn more enjoyable because already what's enjoyable
Yeah,
about Qui Gon Jinn is hating him. So this adds another layer, and it adds some pathos to the obviously gay Obi Wan Kenobi character.
exactly,
It's the
exactly,
perfect
and
take.
it adds some conflict to the like the Earthship of the prequels, which is of course Obi-Wan and Darth Maul.
Of
Like,
course,
how does
of
Obi-Wan feel?
course.
Like, it adds
Listen,
more
I don't
like
necessarily agree that that's the
conflict.
airship because you'll know that I'm an Obi Wan Dex Jetster fan.
Okay. Well, I was about to say I was about to say something about like, well, I'm talking about characters that actually have lines, but I actually think Dex Jetster has more lines than Darth Maul does if we're just talking about the prequel films.
Oh, he 100% does, because Darth Maul has 2 or 3 lines depending on
Yeah.
which version you're watching.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
Dex has, like, he's got a whole scene.
He's got a whole scene. I'll give you that. I'll give you that. But I feel like, Darth Maul is actually a character that a lot of people remember, as opposed to Jetster, which is a character that only people with taste remember.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Is there any chance I could convince you to watch the 4-hour, 19-minute Revenge of the Sith cut that I found online?
Jesus.
Well,
Okay,
because I'll tell you what
so
it does. It
yeah.
incorporates a lot of element from the Clone Wars. So, I mean, you do have to just suspend your disbelief as it goes between live action and animation. But
Yeah.
I'll tell you what it does. It
Mhm.
inserts Darth Maul into the conversation of Episode 3, and I think that's really fantastic.
That I like. That both of those aspects I like. Does it cut down the Mustafar lightsaber sequence at all?
No, I think it might even make it longer.
Okay, I'm out. I'm out. I'm so out.
You can fast forward through that part. I won't get mad.
Okay. That I will consider. I that fucking lights. I mean,
Honestly, you're gonna think I'm insane, and there's no way this would ever happen.
uh-huh.
I would watch a version of Revenge of the Sith where the Mustafar lightsaber fight is 2 hours long. I would watch.
So stupid.
I would watch a feature length presentation that is just that lightsaber fight.
Like I don't know. I
You'd need
actually
new
like there's
footage to
part of
accomplish this, obviously.
there's
But like,
there's part of me that kind of does want to go back, and I'm sorry listeners if you wanted to hear anything about wrestling, but fuck you.
here's the
There's a
thing:
part of me.
I can't have a Star Wars podcast because there's too many of them out there already.
Yes.
So I need to purge my Star Wars talk on
Yeah.
some podcast, and
I
that's just gonna
do
happen.
want like there's a part of me that wants to because that is like the central emotional conflict of the Star Wars prequels being played out through violence and not dialogue. And me, I'm somebody who does believe, yes, emotional conversation can happen through violence and not dialogue.
Yeah, that's true.
However,
Well, listen, I know what you're going to say. It doesn't look like they're hitting each other. It's not actually violence. It's just two little gay wads
no.
flashing lights around.
Yeah. But that's
You listeners,
I
don't
am.
worry. We're both gay trans women. We can say gay wad. Like
Shut up, faggot. I was getting to a point.
Yeah.
I think that there is storytelling, like, despite what we've talked about, where they're just dancing around and all of that kind of stuff, and it doesn't look like that. I think there is still like possibilities for that to make for that storytelling through violence that I loved so much.
Yeah.
And I think maybe if I do go back, because that is easily like the one that, because like my experience with the Star Wars prequels is I was young and stupid and I loved them up until the Revenge of the Sith came out, and that was kind of when I like really started to turn on them.
Mhm.
And so I've seen 1 and 2 a lot, and those are the ones that I can remember. And then when I go back to them, there's not a lightsaber fight in those that has any weight to it whatsoever.
Even when that heroic young gay man murders the homophobe who has been coming after him, you don't find that satisfying at all?
Okay,
Of
yeah,
course, I'm
but I
talking
mean
about
that
when
is
Darth
like
Maul.
there's a small point in what is otherwise a long sequence of
Oh, I love
jack
it.
shit.
I'm all here for it.
Yeah, but that's what makes me nervous about revisiting the
Revenge of the
Mustafar
Sith.
sequence
Yeah.
is that you think that that is anything other than like a pretty bad music video for a pretty good John Williams song.
It's a pretty bitching music video for a great John Williams song.
That's what makes me nervous about going back to the Mustafar light scene. But Diet Coke, I will watch the 4-hour version of Revenge of the Sith
Hell
if
yeah.
we then turn it in. Because I'm going to be honest, I don't think the next minute is going to have. I think I may have.
I want to talk about it on the podcast.
Yeah, we have to talk about it on the podcast
Okay,
because
that's fair.
God, we have to get through this fucking match one way or another.
Yeah, okay.
I feel like the last, like, we're coming around the, because how many minutes does this thing have? 18. So we got 5 left,
Yeah.
and 15. I think is there's some. That's when some real stuff starts happening. I want to have Amanda back, for like 18,
Of course.
because I want her to have to like, figure out what the connective tissue between everything that's happened.
She won't know what went on in the final deletion or the journey we went on as podcasters.
Yes.
Heading from one place to the other.
Anyway, we've talked enough. Now the talking's done.
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch a 4-hour cut of Revenge of the Sith.
Now I did watch it
next
recently enough that I probably don't need to watch it again, but I'm going to watch it again.
Well, let's watch it together.
I don't know that I can sit in a computer chair for 4 hours and 20 minutes with headphones on.
I don't want to watch it alone.
All right, let's watch it again.
Okay. How do
It's
you
not even the
mind,
headphones or the chair. It's having to have to make my voice heard. I get.
We don't have to talk. We watch baseball together. Like, we can just sit there in silence. I don't want to be, I'm not going to make it through 4 hours of Revenge of the Sith on my own.
Okay, let's watch it together.
Okay. Cool. All right. So how we've been watching baseball together, and which I've loved.
Yeah.
And we're not gonna this podcast isn't gonna pivot to baseball. It's gonna pivot to something else. You know how we were watching a baseball game. This is actually a perfect example of the Dodgers Mariners game that we watched together just a couple days ago. And let's say one of you is really pulling for one team to make a rally at the top of the 9th, and they're behind, and you think maybe, but then, it's the top of the 9th, which isn't technically supposed to be the end of the game, but
it could be.
They're still behind, and the top of the 9th is done, and suddenly the podcast is over, or the game is over. Do you think that there's a way that we could duplicate that kind of just sudden and kind of sad deflation at the end of our show?
No.